Hi, Analisa Six here with the Lady of Leisure and the Sober Curator to bring you the April 2024 horoscope for the zodiac sign of Virgo for sun and rising placements. Hi, Virgo, how are you? I'm Analisa and I do monthly horoscopes for an online magazine called The Sober Curator and my personal blog, The Lady of Leisure. And they are done through the lens of recovery, of sobriety. You can watch these even if you're not in recovery, but I think recovery and astrology go really well together. April is a really intense month for all of us. We have a lot going on in the cardinal fire sign of Aries. Aries energy is all about renewal, rebirth, spring, where we direct our willpower into our lives. It's ruled by Mars. Mars rules action, assertion, war, confrontation. Some of the kind of pitfalls or downfalls of Mars can be war, aggression, arrogance, impatience, impulsivity, things like that. And so we've got a lot of that energy in the air as we get April going. We start off April with a Mercury retrograde in that cardinal fire sign of Aries. And so on April 1st, Mercury is going to station retrograde. And the area that all of this Aries energy is hitting for the Virgo horoscope is the area that is called the eighth house in our charts. And the eighth house is traditionally ruled by Scorpio, and Mars is the ruler of this house. And we have a lot of themes here that come up when things are in this house. Whenever I list everything in this house, I'm always like, it's so many aspects of our lives that are hit with eighth house transits. We have marriage here, we have sex here, we have death here, we have rebirth, we have our relationship to inheritance and estates, we have shared resources that we have with people that we are married to or cohabitate with. Also, anything that's passed down to us through family, through, death or inheritance. This is the area that also rules financial institutions like banks, loans, taxes, those kinds of things. And so all of those themes come up during these transits. This is also the area that rules our relationship to the occult. So esoteric studies under the occult umbrella, it's very Scorpio themed. Those things come up as well. So with Mercury retrograde here and Chiron here, the North Node here and the Sun here, all of those themes are highlighted. And Mercury is a time where we are in reflect, review, reassess. Mercury rules our communication. It rules the way that we think about things, our perspectives, simplified learning, those types of things. And so sorry, I feel like the angle of this computer, I'm kind of having an issue with in terms of the lighting. The way the light's hitting my face is making me look really shiny, and the sun is not out, and usually the lighting in my apartment this time of day is much better, and it's just distracting me. I apologize. The Mercury Virgo in me is feeling distracted by the lack of perfection in the lighting. But Mercury retrograde in Aries, can bring up a lot of issues in these themes in our life. Mercury in Aries is a very reactive, impulsive kind of energy that can be irritable, it can be aggressive, it can be arrogant, it can kind of fly off the handle, it can be explosive at times. And so we're confronting our relationship to anger, we're confronting our relationship to how we respond to challenges. And if you think about everything I just listed off in this house, these are the areas that we're going to be reflecting, reviewing, reassessing, and experiencing challenge, and that we are more likely to be impulsive or impatient around in how we react. So we have to be really mindful, essentially, because we could be overtly reactive during this time, but we also are on the receiving end of a lot of other people's reactions too. And Mercury is the ruler of Virgo. So this is your ruling planet. So having this energy here is also extra impactful to you and your sense of self. you're going to be challenged through external circumstances that are out of your control and how you respond and move forward in those ways elegantly. I think that Virgo is one of the signs of Aries too. Aries really wants to have a lot of control within its environment, and Virgo as well. Virgo wants control when it in a way that's mitigation of risk. So for you, you're afraid of the potential pitfalls of something. And so you want to get in front of problems and you want to go about them in the most constructive, organized way. You want to get in front of all of the problems and find solutions. That's very Virgo. Mercury in Aries, or Aries energy, wants to be in control because it wants to actually be dominant. It wants to lead. And it's not so much about risk mitigation as it is about being in charge or kind of the leader of the situation and wanting to feel in control in that way. So it's two very different ways of wanting to control energy. And so you're kind of in that soup right now of figuring out how to maybe let go and relax, because there's certain things that we just can't control, especially during a Mercury retrograde. And so you're going to try to get in front of things during this time, but it's not, no matter how hard you try to get in front of something, sometimes it's other people's mistakes that you can't control that kind of ruin, what it was that you were hoping to have organized in some way. And I think, like, anecdotally, for me, like, one of the things that was happening a couple years ago during Mercury retrograde in the earth signs for me that was really frustrating was I was having a lot of issues with trying to get certain things sorted out with the DMV. And I was doing everything on my part. I was doing all the paperwork. I did everything the way you're supposed to do it. I was going physically into the DMV, filling everything out on time, doing all of that stuff. And for whatever reason, none of it was going through, and nobody on their end was doing what they were supposed to do. I was calling, I was writing letters, I was physically going in. And I still to this day have no idea what's been processed, because there's certain aspects to the DMV where they won't tell you, they won't email you or mail you like proof that something went through. And I've talked to them about it. And it was like 2 years of my life where this DMV stuff, every time Mercury would station retrograde, I would get something with the DMV where something I had done was not going through in the right way. And it was always about them. Like, it was never what I had submitted. It was like, they're not processing the paperwork that I'm sending to them. And it's like, I felt stuck, and I would talk to them. I'd be like, how can I do this any differently to make sure that this goes through? And they would just be like, just do it again, just do it again. So, yeah, it was just really frustrating to me, because I learned this lesson during that Mercury retrograde, that no matter how much I did right, how much my I's were dotted, my T's were crossed, I couldn't control the institution. I couldn't control their fuckery and whether or not their employees were doing stuff. And I'm just another number to them. They've got this giant heap of paperwork that they're processing, and nobody cares about my little life in comparison, but it's driving me crazy. And I also had that with a bank during that time too. It was all very eighth house kind of themes, where I was doing everything on my end to do the proper things, and people on their end weren't. And I was getting in fights with people on the phone about it. And it was just really frustrating. And so I'm sharing that anecdote because the transit and where it's hitting in the Virgo horoscope are kind of those themes. Like, you might try to get in front of certain things and be like, well, I know it's Mercury retrograde and I just have to do this anyways, because that was essentially the situation that I was in, where it was like, well, I have to file this paperwork at this time, even though I know astrologically this is a bad time to do it. This is the time that I feel like I need to do it, and that the due dates are. And sure enough, nothing was just straightforward the way it should be. So there's a lot of that could happen in April for you and derail some of the things that you have going on. And it's really frustrating. But, luckily, once we get into May and Taurus season, things kind of start to level out with that. So Mercury retrograde is going to, start on the 1st, and it's going to happen until the end of the month. So it'll station direct around the 25th. And then we're in the shadow period for the rest of April. And then once May gets started, Mercury is going to start moving, back in its direct motion. And hopefully we'll feel like we get a handle on some of the things that did not go the way that we were hoping in April. We also start out April with Venus, Mars, Saturn, and Neptune all in Pisces. Saturn and Neptune have been in Pisces for a while. Venus has been in Pisces for a while as well. It entered, not as long, but it entered Pisces in March. And then Mars also entered Pisces in March. Mars is going to be in Pisces for the entire month of April, but Venus is finishing her stint up by the 4th. And so by the 4th, Venus will be moving into Aries and joining the Aries party. It's really beneficial to have Venus and Aries joining that 8th house party, because wherever Venus is, she brings some kind of blessing and, kind of healing, and she wants things to go well and harmoniously. She is in detriment in Aries, so it's not her happy place to be, but she's still a positive energy wherever she is. So hopefully she's kind of helping to smooth over some of the turbulence that Mercury in Aries is kicking up. On April 8th, we have a solar eclipse in this area of your chart as well. So April 8th, we have a 19-degree solar eclipse, and that's happening in Aries, and it's going to be conjunct Chiron. And so again, a lot of these themes that come up that we're talking about with the 8th house, our relationship to sex, our relationship to death, our relationship to inheritance, financial institutions, shared resources, the occult, all of that is getting hit with the eclipse. And so it's going to be a really intense time. There might be some new information or some changes or some big life event that might happen during this eclipse that feels, intense or discombobulating, but it's here to kind of open up a new chapter and kind of set us on a trajectory that's hopefully more in alignment to the direction we need to be going in. And, just remember everything's temporary, but, there's with Chiron here, there is, it's challenging. There's definitely things that get triggered. And again, I think for Virgo, a lot of it's going to be around having to accept what you cannot control in certain situations and having to just, process whatever comes up for you in a way that's healthy. How do you acknowledge internal anger, rage? How do you deal with the lack of control or a lack of being able to prevent things from happening, prevent certain outcomes? Like, we cannot control outside circumstances or other people. So how do we confront the things that are out of our hands in an elegant way that's constructive, and learn from it. I try to look at all my DMV stuff like that year, like what was I learning? And I think that honestly, the lesson was that, like, I can't control things. And so I have to let go and just, as they say, let go and let God. And I can do my part, and I can try to do my part as best as I can, but I can't do other people's parts for them. And so then it's also kind of like, how do I learn not to get really angry and upset about that? I was so angry and upset about so much of that over the last 2 years. And then I went through another cycle of it this year, and I didn't care anymore. I was just like, you know what? I don't care anymore. And that kind of release of care, like, just kind of like, you know what? I'm going to do this paperwork on my own time. As long as it's not costing me money, I'm going to do it on my own time. I'm not going to worry about it, because I'm so tired of the system of the bureaucracy not doing their part. Like, why am I expected to do my part, if you're not going to do yours? And I just kind of got in this space where the man, the authority of the man kind of quit being so threatening to me. It kind of just started feeling like a joke. And that was a healthier way for me to approach bureaucracy instead of making it into this really stressful thing. And I've kind of had to do the same thing with a lot of things this year, where I'm just like, everything's been so chaotic and crazy. I can just do my part. I can just do what I can do every day. And after that, it's out of my hands, So I think that's going to be a big theme for Virgo. The Mars energy is hitting the area of the chart that has to do with your relationships, partnerships specifically. So this can be business partners, relationship partners, like marriage or dating. This can also be best friends. And we might have some conflict here. With Mars in a water sign, we're able to be a little bit more emotionally sensitive to the energy of others. And we might be processing kind of some of the way that we are confrontational and open and vulnerable about our feelings with other people. So we're learning a lot through other people as a Virgo this April. We enter Taurus season on the 19th. And Taurus and Virgo make a trine to each other. It's a really positive energy for Virgo. Earth likes Earth. And the area that this is hitting for the chart has to do with values and belief systems, the law, anything kind of legal that we're dealing with. It also has to do with long distance travel, cultural studies, and higher educations like college, and teaching, and also being a student. So that kind of teacher student dynamic. So this time, the sun comes in and brings a lot of energy to these themes for you in the chart. It's really positive energy for you. It's also an area where we're reflecting on our values and belief systems spiritually and religiously. Like, are we in alignment with our values and belief system? If you're thinking about going back to school, this might be a time that, you're feeling more active in that. Jupiter and Uranus are already here. So they've been here for a while, and the sun just kind of highlights that and makes that more known. Shortly after we have the sun entering Taurus, we're going to have our full moon at 4 degrees of Scorpio on April 23rd. And so the ninth house and third house axis is going to be highlighted. And again, ninth house values and belief systems. We're here, during the month of Taurus, reflecting on whether or not we feel like we're living in alignment with our values. And then the third house is the house that rules communication, simplified learning, neighbors, and siblings. So relationships with neighbors and siblings can get highlighted during this full moon. Our communication patterns and how we communicate and how we believe in what we're saying or value what we're saying, and how our perspectives around what we're saying could be going through some kind of transition. Scorpio represents, death and rebirth. And so through this full moon, we might be reflecting on communication dynamics or patterns that we're ready to transmute into a different territory. Is it time for us to maybe kind of manifest some different communication patterns in our relationship dynamics? Because, maybe Mars and Venus, and Mercury retrograde in Aries have been kicking up some dust for us to reflect in that way. After this full moon, our next major kind of shift that we have happening is Venus entering Taurus as well on the 29th. And so she's going to be entering that area that I was just speaking about, the ninth house, values, belief systems. And when she's here, it's really important to us that our relationships reflect our values and beliefs. Especially after where she's kind of been hitting in the chart. We've been in that period of really reflecting and reviewing those things. And now it's important that we have kind of, people in our lives that really, are in alignment with that. She also brings blessings to any kind of legal stuff that we're sorting out. This is also the house that rules publishing. So if you have something that you're putting out into the world or you're publishing, this is something that is really enhanced in a positive way. It's also really beneficial for long distance travel, but we're still in that little bit of Mercury retrograde shadow. At this point, Mercury has stationed direct though. So after that full moon, Mercury is going to station direct on the 25th, and then Venus enters Taurus. We're starting to move into a little bit more stable territory as April comes to a close, and May we're in, some more grounded energy than we were in April. All right, Virgo, I'm going to leave you there. So we talked about a lot, and I wish you the best of luck. I'm sorry for all of the shifting of my screen and my computer. I'm sure that was annoying while I was recording this, but the lighting in here, I don't know. It's just when the sun is shining through these windows, I feel like the lighting in here is really good. And then we have a gray day and everything hits kind of in a weird way. And I don't have the technology to have some professional lighting in every video. So that's a goal I need to have for the future. But if you enjoyed this, make sure to hit the like, subscribe, let me know in the comments what you resonated with. I'm offering readings again and taking on new clients. So if you want to work with me one-on-one and see how these transits are impacting you for April, you can email me. I'll have my email in the description box, and we can set up a time to do a tarot or an astrology reading. I charge $35 for 30-minute tarot reading, $75 for a 60-minute tarot reading, and then it's $100 for a 60 to 90-minute astrology session. All right, Virgo, I wish you the best of luck in April, and I will see you guys next month.